Hi, I'm Scott. I'm a Quiet Place fan.
Hi, I'm Senthil, and I'm a Bird Box fan.
So the two of us have decided, since we disagree, we're going to start watching as many horror movies as we can and come up with a new way of rate them. Come join us. All right, hey, good morning, Senthil. How you doing?
Fantastic. How about you? What movie are we talking about today?
Senthil, I have a bizarre film for you that I found. It was a 2010 film called Yellow Brick Road, and it was directed by Jesse Holland and Andy Mitten. And what I've been able to find as far as budget goes for this film, it was under $100,000 to do this film. And why I was interested in this film, and I don't know if you like these kind of things too. I love films that are about things that have disappeared, right? Like Jamestown, that mystery of an entire town just suddenly disappearing.
Yep.
And why did they disappear? And this film really kind of keyed in for me on that.
Yeah, that's a good analogy because I was looking for a Jamestown kind of a story, and they kind of use that concept. It's very similar. I'm interested in your thoughts first because this is a unique movie, and I don't mean that in a negative connotation.
Yeah.
It's different. It's different. What did you make of it?
So, Senthil, this is one of those films that I have actually now watched 3 times. And the reason behind that is so the whole premise behind this is it's 1940, an entire town called Friar basically gets up one day, walks out into the middle of the woods, and disappears. So some disappear, the majority die, right? And then the rescue crews, so the beginning of this film shows like these old black and white pictures and everything else like that, and then finding these bodies dead in the woods. And what happens is now it's 2010, and this professor who does these basically what I would call documentaries on lost civilizations or lost cultures, lost towns, wants to go out and find the Yellow Brick Road, right? Because that is what it's called, the Yellow Brick Road. That's where shit gets really interesting, Senthil, because I actually, the first time I saw this film, I didn't like it. Second time I watched it, I really kind of liked it. It's such a weird film. And it wasn't until I watched it the second time, and I want to see if you saw this or not. Okay, so it starts off with them going to the town. Yep. They go to this theater where the Yellow Brick Road is supposed to start. And then at the theater, he meets somebody who says, I can take you on the Yellow Brick Road. They get to the Yellow Brick Road, and towards the end of the film, somebody is drug off screen. And they're wearing the sleeve and everything of an usher at the theater. Did you notice that?
I missed that.
Okay. So if you go back and watch, it's towards the very end of the film, and it's the last woman who dies, and you see this hand and arm. They're wearing the same outfit as the person in the theater. So then I started going, did they ever leave the theater?
Yeah, as you were saying that, it's a fantastic question, especially with the, without giving anything away to our audience, there's some interesting scenes of the scene at the very end that makes you ask that very same question. And I will also say that when I saw this the first time around, and I saw it twice, I didn't like it either because I could not tell how much of what I saw was because the characters were losing their minds,
right,
versus bad acting and bad script, because they were bizarre, bizarre mannerisms and language and bizarre acting and bizarre reactions. I remember one scene where the very first death, and a guy's looking through binoculars and he doesn't do anything. He's just sitting there staring through the binoculars.
As the guy's got a rock breaking this woman's arm off.
Not only that, but then I saw, her leg being ripped off. I'm like, how in the world is this person strong enough to be able to rip an entire human leg off? And so there were reactions the characters had to scenes where I couldn't figure out initially if it was just, like I said, bad writing and bad direction, or the characters are losing their minds, and clearly it's the latter.
I think it's the characters losing their minds. One of the things in that movie that was pivotal is when she's talking about everybody who has lived in this town for long enough has wanted to walk the yellow brick road. And you ask yourself, why is that? Is it because the monotony of small town life, right? And that is where you are at, and you're never going to go anywhere else. And that's where you're stuck, and you're going to continue to work at the diner in a dead end job, or you're going to continue to work at the theater, a dead end job for the rest of your life. That's the highlight of your life, is small town life. I mean, many of the characters, the one character who takes them down the yellow brick road had never even left that town, right? So to me, that was pivotal. And then you see at the end when, and I don't want to give away where he's sitting, but there's a flash of all the townspeople, right?
Yep.
And so was this hell? So is that what, to me, it was living in a small town as hell, right? So you are stuck there watching the same thing over and over and over again. And Synthel, I loved the way that they used music throughout this entire film. It was this old 1940s music that constantly played loud through the whole film.
And when I first heard that music, again, my reaction, because I didn't know what I was seeing, I couldn't tell if it was 40s music that was a background score to the movie, or it was 40s music that the characters were hearing and therefore the audience is hearing it. And even as I watched more, I understood eventually that it's music they're hearing.
Yes.
It's adding to the madness because it never goes away.
Never goes away. And then I loved the way there's a scene in the film right when they really start to hear this music. And so it would go, really, honestly, it would drive you insane if you had to listen to it too long. But it just, like the tempo goes up, but then it became these loud pulsing.
Yeah.
And it's like the world shifted, right? So the world would shift and they would suddenly be jolted this way. And then they were jolted this way. Like there was these earthquakes that were happening. And that kind of stuff just blew me away. I was blown away by just the little things. And like you, Synthel, I had to go back and watch it again because I'm going, was the acting just crap? Or were they actually trying to show you stepping into madness? And I think they did a really good job. Like you said, it became so quirky. Their speech became weird. The way they reacted to things became weird. The scene, like when she's sitting in front of the cave and she hears the guy, yeah, you're not going to kill me. And he goes, yes, I am. And it was like all of this strange, bizarre dialogue and the way they were reacting to things. And I realized this was them going mad.
Yeah. And it was subtle.
Very. And that's when I went back because I started going, wait a minute. She said everybody after a while decides that they're going to walk the yellow brick road, or they want to. And I went, is this a story about small town life? That it's so mundane, it's so effing boring that, it's basically hell. You're stuck there forever. And so, not giving too much away, this crew that goes there is drawn into the mundane of it all.
Yeah, and when I first saw them on the Yellow Brick Road and they look off in the distance, I almost thought I saw some sort of destination that they could see, but that's really not the case.
No,
it's a never-ending journey, and they all go mad eventually. And so there's some multiple elements about this that are still confusing to me. I don't know exactly what the journey indicated. Like you said, is just a monotony of living in small town, and the whole hellish scene at the very end.
Yes.
How much of that is literal? Are they literally? Is this that type of a horror where they're okay? Is it an Angel Heart kind of movie? Where it's a depiction of descent into hell, madness and hell, where the characters themselves aren't aware that that's what's going on, or is this some sort of a metaphor for small town life? As you mentioned, I'm not sure. I would love to talk to the directors on this one.
Oh my! This is one that I would love to talk to the directors about, because to me, the more I watched it, the more I went, my God, this is a shining example of the going mad in a small town, right? I mean, you never leave there. At the end, you're just stuck. That's it. And you're watching the same. So I always joke about, so Vashon Island, here in the Puget Sound, for those of you who don't live here, Vashon Island is an island in the middle of Puget Sound, and you can only get to it by ferry. And those ferries stop at a certain time in the night. There's one movie theater on Vashon Island, one. And I'll never forget back in the days of Arachnophobia, which came out like 1990 or something like that. Anyway, it was 2 years before Arachnophobia actually got to Vancouver. So the joke to me, what has always been, for small towns, you're showing a film that's been out for like 5 years and finally the small town seen it. To me, small town life is like that. I can handle it in small doses, but the monotony of it, the boredom of it, I go and I do that and I see the same people every single day. And it's the same thing over and over. And that's why when she was saying, once you've lived here long enough, everybody decides that, whether that goes, I'm going to walk the road or not. And to me, that's, I don't know. And it could have been like you're saying, which is the slow slip into madness as you're going to hell. So this was the Yellow Brick Road, which is a road to hell, right? Or it's the Yellow Brick Road, which is a slow slip into madness from living the mundane every day.
But how, in either case, I don't know if I can explain why the madness led to a lot of violent impulses that we saw throughout the movie. It's just an extreme example of at some point that you have the monotony has so worn you down that you can't bear it anymore, and the manifestation of that is you want to kill everybody. I'm not sure.
Well, think about it, Synthel. Okay, so I'm gonna think about the pandemic that we've just gone through and that we're just coming out of. You're locked up for 2 years. We've seen an increase in domestic abuse and domestic violence. We've seen an increase in crime throughout the world, especially in the United States. You've seen an increase in alcoholism, drug overdoses, because you were stuck in one place for 2 years and you couldn't really leave, right? So restaurants, it was hard to get into a restaurant. The theaters were closed. I can't go to the grocery store, so you were having food ordered to you. I will tell you right now, I felt like I was going mad at times.
It's a good observation, and just because I know she'll see it, I love you, honey. I love spending time with you for 2 years. But holy cow, 2 years, you can't get away.
No,
there's still get away. You can get in your car and drive around, I suppose, but you can't go anywhere. So I can understand the cabin fever aspect of it because we just lived through it.
So that's why I looked at it through a different eyes this time, which is it this? I think you're probably more right. It's more it's the road to hell, and you're at the end, you're watching and knowing you can't do anything about it as your friends travel this road. It's like my mom said, the road to hell is paved with best intentions. And so here he is at the end watching his friends, basically he was a spectator of the entire event. But and that's probably it, right?
I think we're going to flip here because I'm leaning more towards your theory. And the reason is, in a movie like Angel Heart, the main character deserved it.
Yeah.
But maybe the scenes were cut, but there's nothing that established that the character deserved that journey to hell.
Right.
And should have been on it. So if we can track down the directors, as we've talked about, I'd love to have a conversation with them.
Absolutely. We'll see what we can do. Synthel, another fantastic conversation. I'm looking forward to our next, man. Every movie we get just gets a little weirder.
I like that aspect of it. It's always interesting to keep it interesting.
Yep. All right. I'll talk to you later, man.
See you next time.